Hi, my Instagram followers. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Wednesday Facebook Live tutorial. So, for those of you who don't know me or joining us for the very first time, my name is Mayo Silvers. I am the owner of M2 Hospitality and Event Planning Company. And I am also the founder, mentor, and coach for events for anyone, where we provide a mentorship program called the Unstoppable Eventrepreneur to help event planners like you to start and grow your event planning company into a six-figure profit business. So if you're joining me on Instagram, say hi. If you're joining me on Facebook, say hi. Make sure that you click the link to allow StreamYard to publish your name. Hey, Adriani. And if you're joining me on YouTube, so my YouTube subscribers or my YouTube watchers, please also write in a comment to say hi so I can address you as well. So we have, Dapsado has joined me. That's great on Instagram. And we have Sweetie Cakes as well has joined me on Instagram. Hi, Sean. Hi, Shoshana. Facebook user that says Happy Wednesday. I can't see your name. Please make sure that you click on the link, the StreamYard link, so that I can see your name as well. Hey, Janice. Hi, Siobhan. Thank you for joining me today on our weekly Wednesday Facebook Live tutorial. So hi, Jacqueline. Hi, Beverly. Quite a few of you are joining me today, which is fantastic. So hi, Christine. So now today, I have the pleasure of inviting Dapsado to come to our Facebook group to do a presentation. As all you probably have already known that I run two businesses, right? I have an event planning company and I also have a event mentorship company. So they are both in a 6 to 7 figures range. So thank God, knock on wood, our company is doing great. But I can't do everything myself. So automation is a big part of our business. And I want to be able to share these resources to all my followers, Instagram, YouTube, and also on my Facebook, that what are the resources out there that's allowing you to be able to automate some of your workflow, to elevate some of your workflow so that you have more time to focus on more client forward activities, sales generating activities, right? So that's the whole idea. Does automation take away the human touch in the business, especially in a event management or event planning business where client interaction, face-to-face interaction, phone call interaction is still predominantly the way that we grow our relationship? No, automation doesn't take away all that. Automation just helps you create things or create a workflow that allows you to give you more time to do those client management or client relationship building activities, those admin tasks that you don't have to spend time on the phone to get those done. So that's the beauty of automation. All right. So, okay, we have quite a few people joining us. So we have Yolanda, we have Beverly, hi Claudia, hi Jackie Sanders, and we have his events as well. We have MJ Decorations as well joining us today. So I know that a lot of you are joining me undercover during lunchtime, so I don't want to take too much time. And this presentation is gold. All right. And Joey, and he's going to come on stage with me from Dapsado. He's probably one of the calmest person I know, most pleasant voice, able to explain things very clearly. And he did a presentation inside our paid members group. We had so much fun with him, a lot of Q&A. So I said, you have to come to my free Facebook group for people who's not in my program yet. They need to know what Dapsado can do for their business as well. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Joey Melly from Dapsado to come on. Let's see. Here you go. Hey, Joey. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. Appreciate it, May.
Thank you. You're most welcome. Thank you for giving us your time. So for those of you, my Instagram followers, I think this morning I came on and I let everybody know that today's presentation will have a PowerPoint presentation. And because Instagram, for whatever reason, will not allow us to shrink to Instagram. So I have to go live on Instagram itself. So when I go live on Instagram, I can share my screen. So if you want to be able to see my screen, to see what Joey is presenting, you need to click on the link in my bio to join our Facebook group so that you can see what he's actually presenting. If not, I'm going to put up the volume really loud so you can hear what Joey is saying as well. Okay. Alrighty. Hi, Yolanda. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you for joining me. Okay, very windy in Utah. Oh wow. Okay, Fiona. So I'm sorry to make you jealous, but we are nice, bright, and sunny in the high 70s here in Miami. All right, Joey. So take it away. So if you want, I'm going to share your share screen. So I'm going to make the screen bigger. So right here. Boop.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, Joey. So let's talk about who you are, what you do for Dubsado, and what exactly is Dubsado.
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name is Joey, and I've been with Dubsado for about 4 years now, and I work as the head of the sales department, and I also help with the marketing outreach and partnerships here at Dubsado. So Dubsado, for lack of a better word, is a business management tool. We like to call it a client management system. So if you are a business owner that is currently using a handful of tools perhaps to manage your business, whether it's an invoicing software, a project management software, a contracting software, even if you have another type of software that's a bit similar to Dubsado, we are sort of that all-in-one solution. So we're looking for you to take your entire business process and all those sort of back-end needs and use Dubsado from start to finish, sort of from the moment somebody inquires as a client all the way up until you're done working with them, to host that relationship within our system. And ideally, as May kind of mentioned already, automate that process. So from the onboarding process to the fulfillment process, I'll talk a little bit about how you can take some time back to your business and allow sort of what we call workflow automation to pick up a lot of that admin labor so you can focus on the more detailed aspects without sweating your emails and things like that. So that's Dubsado in a wrap, but I'll definitely dig in as well.
Okay, so before I remove myself and Joey from the screen so you can see the screen bigger, I do want to highlight that, last week we had, 2 weeks ago, we had Active Campaign come on to talk about what Active Campaign is. So understand that any email management software like Active Campaign, ConvertKit, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Flowdesk, all those are what you should also have in your business to build your business into a very robust stage. So what these email softwares do is they are the first step. You are collecting all those leads when you go to networking event, you're collecting all those contacts, everything, right? And then you get all those, they're not called leads yet because they have not sort of initiate any form of interest in working with you yet. But we are going to keep them in our ecosystem, which is in the email system, and using those software, we are going to send them information, weekly email, newsletter, whatever that you do to nurture them so that they know, like, trust us. Then you always have to have the call to action button for them to arrange an appointment to speak with us, right? So to speak with you. So on the email series, when they decide that they want to speak with you further to inquire about your services, that's when you link a software, client project management software company like Dubsado on your email so that Dubsado capture that information when they schedule a call with you. Understand that Dubsado, or any other project management software out there does not replace your email software. It's very different. So that's like what Joey said. Their software, like many other software out there, is from capturing, from responding to leads all the way to servicing them during the process and closing the project. Okay, it's called project management for a reason. We need to start the project, and to start the project, you start with your email software, then that leads into a project management software. Okay, all right. I hope that is a clear explanation. All right. Okay, so let me just make the screen bigger. All right, Joey, take it over.
Awesome. Yeah. So today I really just wanted to do sort of a condensed walkthrough and highlight a lot of the different features that you can take advantage of for your service-based business. I kind of wanted to preface though, like with something like Dubsado, there's sort of a lot of different tools that you can hand select and then decide, what brings you the most value, what saves you the most time, what makes things as efficient as possible. So I want you to know you don't have to use every single bell and whistle. Even if you're all, let's say, an event planner or you have a certain type of business in a given industry, every entrepreneur, every business owner uses it quite differently, just depending on what their personal needs are or what their process might be. So, if we are thinking about a client's journey, from the moment they inquire, whenever they enter Dubsado, they are called what we call a project. So what you're all seeing now on the screen is what we call our project dashboard. And this is sort of like your command center. Every day when you log into this dashboard, this will actually show you all the people that you're actively talking to, regardless of their status or where they're at in the mix, things like that. So I wanted to just quickly highlight, apart from using the search bar or scrolling through the list of people that you're interacting with, there's a couple ways you can actually filter, navigate, and customize this page to make daily use as efficient as possible. So one of those examples actually is, you might notice we have some of these tiles at the top of the screen. I have some examples of these that are called project statuses. These are essentially almost like a process timeline, if you will. It's a nice way to gauge where people are at in the mix. And we actually break down projects into two categories. So we have lead projects, which are your prospects and your inquiries. So for lack of a better word, the people that are interested in your service and they've reached out, but they have yet to really convert. They're just kind of in that inquiry phase. And then job projects, of course, are the people who've come on board, whether they've signed a contract or paid a deposit or both. So with these project statuses, you actually have the ability to really visualize and create step-by-step, what does my process look like after they've onboarded? What are those initial onboarding steps? And then after they've become a client in some capacity, what does that fulfillment process look like? What are the stages up until that event? Or what are the stages up until I'm done working with that client? So you get to determine and visualize, where every single person you're dealing with is at in the mix. And you can even click on those statuses if you wanted to isolate people in a given step. Now, in a different way, we have another type of categorization called tags. And these tags are more like your traditional categories. These are sort of like labels or identifiers. Basically, if there are any sort of traits or characteristics about your clientele that you just want to be able to add to their file, something significant, it could be what type of event it might be, it could be special circumstances or common venues, things like that. Basically, when you start to add one or multiple tags to a project, when you actually navigate back to the main project dashboard, you can actually filter based on those tags. Let's say you're this event planner that does corporate events, birthday parties, weddings, things like that. If you ever knew like, okay, the summer's coming up, it's about to be really busy with my weddings in particular. If you wanted to, you can go ahead and select the wedding tag. So instead of having to kind of filter through your list manually, it will isolate just the ones that are associated with that wedding tag, or multiple rather, just to kind of give you the most clear picture.
That's so a cool feature. That means you can actually sort through your leads or your project. Leads are the same as projects, all right, everyone? So your potential client or your clients are considered as a project in Dubsado term. And you can actually just filter out that, if this client is a wedding client, then there's another client that's birthday. So you can actually filter out by looking at the tags or by filtering by tags, and you'll be able to see how many wedding clients you have on the books for the next 9 months, next 1 year, and how many birthday clients you have. So that's our corporate clients that you have. This is actually a very good feature.
Awesome. Thanks, May. Before I actually dig into like an example of a project itself, I wanted to highlight the importance of templates. So templates are a really big part of how you can sort of remove the actual labor from your plate and have the system do as much as possible for you. So I actually wanted to highlight a few of our more commonplace templates and how they would benefit you. More specifically, I wanted to actually start with our form library, as we call it. So the screen that you're all seeing here is our template form library. And this is actually where you'll build your arsenal of documents. Any document whatsoever that you need a client to sign or fill out in some capacity, this is where you would create that. And I'll kind of quickly go down the list and show you all examples of each. Before I actually do that, I wanted to emphasize the importance to us of customization. Especially in this day and age, regardless of what business type you have, we do understand that customization and creating a cohesive brand experience is really quite important to make sure that your client knows and understands how great your business is. So when it comes to logos, fonts, colors, even video integration, things like that, you can really go above and beyond with the way that you'd like to design these forms just to make sure that it looks as good as possible to the client. So first and foremost, we have what we call our contract template. I know nobody's a stranger to contracts, but I wanted to use this as an example to kind of show what things look like on the back end in what we call edit mode. So basically, if you're sourcing your contract from elsewhere, if you've created it on DocuSign, if you have anything like that, when we're essentially recreating your legal agreement or your contract, all you're doing, it's kind of nice because it's just kind of a drag and drop scenario. You know, you basically identify the element you'd like to use, and you'll sort of drag it into the form. So in this case, we have like our logo, we have our terms and conditions, of course. If possible, you would like to add initial fields, you can absolutely do that if you'd like to initial more important sections. And we do have that legally binding electronic signature at the bottom. So if you're currently using like HelloSign or Adobe Sign or another ancillary contract software, this would functionally replace that. And if a client receives an invoice, let's say via email, they'll have the opportunity to sign that digitally on whatever device they're on. Now, we do have a counter signature field as well. If you're accustomed to countersigning it after the client has, you're absolutely welcome to do that. Although I do want you to know that it's optional. So if you feel like it's a bit cumbersome and you're super busy, essentially only if the client signs it, that itself is legally binding, and you won't be prompted to countersign if you remove this field. Now, one thing that I wanted to actually add, especially in the events business, when things can, change and ebb and flow, things of that nature, one thing that can come in handy is our sub agreement. So basically, this is the type of document that is legally binding, but it's kind of a catch-all. So basically, if you have any scenario whatsoever apart from the initial contract where you just kind of feel better that you're getting that extra client signature, it could be, knock on wood, of course, it could be for like a cancellation, it could be for an amendment if you need to change pricing or quantities, things like that. You could also use this for proofing. So if you're running, let's say, different floor concepts, floor designs, guest lists, things like that, if there's anything at all that you wanted to get that signature for, you can display this and you can state whatever it is that needs to be stated. You can even ask for feedback, and then the client can sign at the bottom. So this isn't the most urgent template to use, but it's just nice to know you have it in your back pocket anytime you want the client to approve of either progress or changes or anything of that nature. Now, another form that is really quite useful, especially in those beginning stages, is our questionnaire. This is probably my favorite form, to be quite honest, because it can do so much in just kind of gathering those very crucial details up front. So this is often used, for example, like after someone has made an initial inquiry, maybe at that point, all you have is like their contact details, but before you want to hop on a call with them, for example, maybe you would like some more intricate details about their event, what it is they're planning, things like that. So the questionnaire can really be used at any point in your process where you just want to gather as much info as possible. Apart from sort of designing it in a particular way, adding your logos, adding a sweet video, some people like to put Spotify playlists, things like that, you can really be intentional about the way that the questions are asked to the client. So you can identify, is the question required? Is it optional? As well as what type of question is most suitable for what you'd like to gather. Is it a short answer question? Is it a date selection? Is it a drop down? Am I quantifying anything? Is it a free response, so to speak? So you have all those sort of customization options to get what you need, but also make it look as good as possible. And then we also have some additional perks where, maybe there are certain things where a client can easily enter it into a field, but there are other pieces of info you need to gather that would make way more sense to just attach directly. So for that purpose, we actually have a built-in form uploader. If there's any kind of file, whether it be a small photo, a PDF file, an Excel spreadsheet, they can use that as well to kind of kill two birds in one stone and give you what you need. And on the client end as well, we do understand that the questionnaire is a bit lengthy sometimes. So, maybe you've got like a bride and a groom where they need to discuss their preferences as an example. With the questionnaire in particular, they can save their progress. So if they need to sleep on it and come back to it the next day, they absolutely can. But just know you can use questionnaires for whatever purpose you need. It could even be like a post-event feedback form. Anything that you can think of is absolutely cool to use a questionnaire for. Now, the form directly to the right of that is something we call a proposal. So our proposal is sort of like a visual shopping cart / order sheet. So if you have a selection of services, like let's say, for example, you have like a gold, a silver, a bronze, a diamond event servicing package. But even on top of that, if you have any sort of a la carte items, premium add-ons, for example, you'd like to upsell, the whole intention of using a proposal is when you give it over and you send it to your client, this will actually allow them to select and quantify what it is they'd like to purchase. Now, if we're dealing with actual quantities, you can absolutely set a minimum or a maximum threshold so they won't exceed or select below the amount that you intend to sell. And basically what happens when the client fulfills and they complete the proposal, it creates an invoice automatically within the system for you. So you don't actually have to create the invoice yourself, saving you a bit of time. Now, the real magic with the proposal is if your ideal scenario is to be as turnkey as possible, you have the opportunity to actually attach automatically the contract and the invoice to that proposal. So let's say, for example, myself and my fiance were looking to book you for our wedding next year, and you've known everything you need to know. I've already given you most of the info. The last step of this process is just kind of seal the deal and get me moving. When you send me a proposal with all those items attached, essentially what that means is in one swoop, I'll be able to select and quantify what I want, sign that contract, and then pay either the full amount if you demand it or like the initial deposit up front. So I'll choose, I'll sign, and I'll pay all without you having to do any legwork on your end. So that's really quite nice to just...
Let me just have a question. If you were to choose on the proposal that you want to add on more services, the contract will automatically capture that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So the contract, as well as other fields and forms, use what we call smart fields. So what they are choosing on the proposal will quite physically dictate on the contract, specifically the amounts that are chosen, the deadlines, things like that. So it will very much reflect exactly what they've chosen.
Okay.
Now, last but not least, I saved this for last because this is quite literally the most important form in our system, and it's what we call a lead capture page. This is just another way of saying contact form or inquiry form. So in any which way that you are used to receiving a brand new inquiry, whether it's an email referral, whether it's a Facebook message, whether it's directly off of your website, once you design this form appropriately, you have the option to sort of share it in a couple different ways. So as an example, you can embed it on a website using the iframe code. In this case, you know, if you're using like a Wix or a Squarespace or a WordPress site, you can embed this on your website. And the whole intention is to make it look the exact same as it might already exist, but on the back end, it's saving you some time. And then we also have a direct link that you can customize. So if you want to plop it on your IG bio, if you want to put it on LinkedIn, if you want to email it to someone that cold emailed you, it doesn't quite matter how someone fills out the form. But if they do fill it out and hit submit, the whole purpose of this is it takes all their information, and instead of having to transfer it manually from like an email, it automatically generates that lead project and captures all their data. Now, I'll actually be coming back to this page in just a moment because this also has a lot of implications for how you can automate that process. For example, if you kind of already interpret and understand, okay, if someone inquires about this corporate event, this birthday party, this wedding, if I kind of know in my head, okay, Joey asked about a wedding inquiry, so these are the typical emails and forms that I'd like to send him over time. I will show everyone in just a moment how you can automate essentially that entire onboarding process so the client gets what they need, but you don't have to spend the time doing it. They'll always receive what is sort of the next step in that process. So before I actually dig into some of the other templates, I wanted to note that we have a free template library. If you're sort of in the beginning stages of your business, maybe you have some forms that you'd like to build out and create. We have this template library where you can absolutely, for free, sort of take what you need from it and you can copy it into your account, slap your branding on it, and make it look as good as possible. So if you're looking for a bit of a baseline, some inspiration, and you don't want to start from scratch, this is a great place to start just so you can have something to work with. Now, before I dig into the workflow automation and the project itself, I wanted to briefly go over our scheduler. So we do have a built-in scheduler. You know, if you're used to taking consultation calls, if there are meetings leading up to an event with a client, basically this scheduler functions very similarly to like Calendly or Acuity, and you can create different what we call scheduler templates. Now, before even setting any of this up, I do want to note that you can sync your external business calendar to Dubsado, whether that be iCal or Google Cal or Outlook, things like that. So when you sync that, it will actually scan those external events to determine your availability. So you don't ever have to like block out time if you have a personal matter when it comes to your meeting availability. And in the template itself, you have a lot of different customization options just to make sure that people are meeting with you at the most appropriate time. So in this case, you know, you'll determine, of course, you know, what is the duration of the meeting, what are the typical days and times I'm available, how far in advance do you want them to book, you know, so you're not waking up in the morning to a meeting you didn't prep for. And you can also determine as well, like, what is the maximum amount of appointments you even want to take in a day, pending your schedule. And it does, just to confirm, come with the pleasantries of a confirmation email that is automatically sent, as well as custom reminder emails. Now, I want to note that you can absolutely create different scheduler types and templates just based on the different meetings that you have. Maybe one is publicly available and the other is privately sent to a client. But this, just like the lead capture, is something that you can absolutely share on your website, things of that nature. It does actually adjust time zones. So I want to note that if someone is booking you on the East Coast, you're in the West Coast, 9 a.m. to you will be 12 p.m. to them. So there's never any discrepancy. And we do actually integrate with video conferencing. So if you love to use Zoom, if you love to use Google Meet, things of that nature, you can connect that and sync that directly to your account, and it'll auto-generate a meeting link for you. Now, digging straight into a project, really like the meat and potatoes of our whole software, I wanted to show everyone sort of the inner project details. So what you've seen previously, this dashboard, is just kind of this master hub. But when you actually click into a project itself, this is what will show you all the contents regarding the event that you're servicing. So this project folder, you can think of it as your central holding folder for that particular client or event. So in this case, my sample client's name is Marty Bird. So if there's anything at all that I need to do for Marty, if I need to check something or reference something, everything I need is stored neatly within this project. And if it pertains to any other event, I would simply go to that project as well, and I'll see all the details. So one actually good way to sort of demonstrate how that works is connecting your email. So when you connect your business email of sorts, our intention is not to replace anything. You can still see things nicely in your, let's say, Gmail or Outlook inbox. But in this case, especially if you're quite busy, instead of having to toggle through your inbox, you know, dig through a bunch of folders, in this case, you can just sort of think, okay, I need to get a hold of Marty. I need him to complete a form. So if I just go to Marty's project, I will instantly see only the correspondence between me and my client. I do not in any way have to you know, filter elsewhere or look for where things might be. Everything is always self-contained in the project. Now, when you are sending a form, it is done a bit differently. Basically, the form itself, whenever you're choosing it, you'll hit this drop-down box that says Add New Form. And essentially, you'll choose the forms that were created from your template library, and you'll push the Send button, which will prompt this email box to pop up. So the form itself, you'll notice, is actually housed as a button. And this button, you can customize the color, of course, as well as what the title looks like. And basically, when the client receives that document, whatever the type might be, they'll just click on the button, even if they're on, let's say, their iPhone, and they can complete it, and you'll automatically be notified. One of the nice things about this particular form view as well is there are status updates and indicators. So especially if it's time sensitive, especially if you need them to complete it before they can move forward, you'll notice that there are these color-coded statuses that will let you know automatically, did I send this form? If I did send it, when's the last time they viewed it? And then the most favorable response is this completed icon, which means that they're done it. And you can absolutely just pop that open and see what they've responded with. I just wanted to confirm, if I open this up as a sample in a new tab, just let me know if you're able to see it.
Okay. Yes.
So basically,
yeah. So you just click on the button and it actually comes to the form.
yeah. Can you see the form here right now, May, or is that not quite visible?
Yes, I can see.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So basically, when you click on the button, this is a sample of that proposal that I mentioned earlier. And what's nice about it is it's one web window, but there are 3 different tabs that it kind of takes the client down this onboarding journey, if you will. And basically, the first tab, as you know, they'll go ahead and select and quantify what they want. The second tab is that contract, which actually populates the exact details of what they chose. And then as a final step is the actual invoice where they can go ahead and pay. So that's a nice little blurb of how it looks on the client end when they go from proposal, contract to invoice. Now, I wanted to actually discuss further the invoicing options as well. We do integrate directly with a few different payment processors. We've got PayPal, Square, as well as Stripe. So for all 3 of those processors, if somebody uses a credit card, let's say they ran their Amex for Square or Stripe or PayPal, the transaction fee for that would be 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. And I want to be very explicit that that itself is solely the processor fee. We do not charge any additional fees. We're sort of just like connecting the dots for you. So this is an example of what an invoice looks like. And what I wanted to actually highlight is for event planners, for people that offer high ticket services, things of that nature, if you are within the US and you're able to use Stripe, e-checks are a great option. So basically, instead of, let's say you're charging me $3,500 as my deposit, instead of giving 2.9% of that sum to Stripe for credit card usage, the client can actually pay via e-check, which is similar to like a direct deposit or a bank transfer. And in that occasion, the transaction fee for the business owner is 0.8%, but it's capped at $5. That would essentially mean if you send me a $6,000 bill and I pay via e-check, the most that you're paying is $5 maximum towards the processor.
Can we add the processing fee onto the invoice so that the client pays it instead of us eating the call?
Great question. So you absolutely can. You know, oftentimes, especially with large ticket items, what you can do, and this is a preference, of course, but what you can do is, let's say if I were to send you an invoice, Stripe e-check is the only default, what we call default available payment option. That would mean that when the client hits pay now, they're only seeing e-check. Let's say in this case, the client came back to you and said, you know what, I really need to use my business Amex or what have you. I want to run it on credit. So at that point in time, what you have the opportunity to do since they've made that request is you can actually turn on the credit card option just for this one client, at the same time applying a surcharge that will tack on an additional fee to accommodate for that extra. So you can absolutely do that sort of in the same swoop. You can let them know like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the credit card option for you, subject to like an extra 2 or 3% fee. Now, one thing that I do want to note as well with our invoices is that they're completely live. So if you have clients that are very particular of how they would like to pay, let's say it's a cashier's check, let's say it's a traditional direct deposit, or they use something like Zelle, for example, you're always welcome to apply those manual payments and it'll automatically update the client copy. So anytime you need to make a change, even after the client has received the invoice, especially, you know, let's say they want to bump their guest list, or they want to add an additional service, or you need to give them a discount, or maybe in this case, they gave you a check and you want to reflect that in the system. Each time you make a change internally, just know that it'll automatically update for the client. So you're always going to be on the same page. Even if they pay cash, you'll always have a nice balance statement to reference with them. Now, last thing about invoices is that we do have payment schedules. So essentially, if you typically break down the overall sum you're charging into increments, whether it's 50% upfront, 25% upfront, whatever it might be, the payment schedules will really nicely and explicitly show them what each payment amount is and what date they're due on. But honestly, I think the most beneficial aspect of payment schedules is you get to have automated payment reminders. So in this case, you know, leading up to a specific payment date, if you wanted to send out that courtesy email, let them know, you know, payment 2 of 3 is being sent or is due in a week's time. It'll always keep them engaged, and you don't have to do those types of things manually. So Last but not least, before I go to the workflow automation, the last thing I wanted to show is what we call a client portal. Especially if the life cycle of working with a client in an event business is quite long. Maybe they book you 3 months in advance, maybe it's a whole year, maybe it's even longer. The client portal is a really sweet resource just to make sure that your client can always access the things that you're exchanging with them over time. I do want to note that is definitely not mandatory. If you feel like it's cumbersome or just too much work, you can absolutely not use it. Sending everything via email is perfectly fine. But I wanted to just quickly show everyone an example of what it looks like for a client to log into their client portal. So the portal is something that if you choose, you can actually embed this on your website. So anyone that has previously had an event with you, if they're currently working with you, anything like that, they can simply log in off of your website to their individual client portal. And this is also quite customizable. You can customize the banner, the colors, the welcome message, things of that nature. And I just wanted to quickly stream through these tabs. We've got like a profile tab. If they update their mailing address or they add another contact or change their phone number, that will update your file. The emails tab is quite nice. Basically, if they are ever losing anything in translation, let's say you have sent them like an email that's super important 6 weeks ago, but they cannot find it in their Gmail inbox, you can count on them finding it here in the client portal inbox. So this is not necessarily a way for them to send new emails, but it's a nice fail-safe just in case they lose anything on their end. You can count on it being here so nothing is ever lost. So the projects tab, this is actually something you can rename if you prefer to name it clients, if you prefer to name it events, whatever it might be. But this holds the most amount of data. So basically any appointments they've set with you, invoices, contracts, and the document section is probably what I want to highlight most heavily. Apart from Dubsado documents, essentially forms that you're creating in Dubsado, whether it be a questionnaire or a proposal or a sub-agreement, this is a great way to also add miscellaneous resources for quick access. Whether it be like an online resource website, you want to link it here, whether it's like a read-only PDF, a dress guide, anything like that, even like a Dropbox folder. So even if it's not native to Dubsado, if you just want them to have easy access to it, you can absolutely add that to their portal as well. So if not for anything else, they can just go here and get what they need really quickly. So that's client portal. I do want you to know, again, you can embed it on your website if you would like to, or share the link to it on a website per se. So anyone that has previously or is currently working with you can just log in and see that really easily. So I've saved the workflow automation for the absolute last because it's what I'm most excited about. But basically, as May kind of prefaced in her intro, workflow automation is absolutely that one feature that will be able to help you save as much time as possible. Workflow automation, for lack of a better word, is sort of you are telling the system how to send these emails and forms and specifically what will trigger and when to do it for you. So when it comes to workflows, we sort of break it down into two different categories. We have what we call our onboarding workflow, which is sort of like from that initial inquiry that you've received, what are the typical emails and forms that you would send manually to them over time? And then in a different way, once that person becomes a client, there's kind of a fulfillment workflow. So after they become a client, leading up to the event and even post-event, what are all those emails that you need to nurture? Are they check-ins? Are they status updates? Are they reminders? Well, oftentimes you can plan months in advance. It's like, okay, 6 months out, send this, 4 weeks out, send this, 2 weeks out, send this. So I wanted to kind of illustrate what it looks like to actually create a singular workflow action. So when you're creating the action itself, you have a list of options that are fixed, but you do have quite a bit. So is it sending a form? Is it sending an email? Am I changing the project status? Am I sending an invoice, for example? But the most important factor in creating these workflows is determining the appropriate trigger. So in this case, a trigger will identify the exact time that you would like something to send based on the number of factors. For onboarding purposes, this is really quite useful because it'll allow the correspondence or the documents to be sent based on client progress. So let's say, for example, you do want to book a time or you want to send a scheduler template over to a client, but you don't really want to hop on the call with them unless you have some further details. So what you can do is you can create a workflow action that will send a scheduler template after a particular form is completed, in this case, the questionnaire. So if you just kind of get into that mentality of, when one thing is done on the client end, what is typically sent next, you can have the system identify that for you. So it's like, okay, they get a welcome email with an in-depth questionnaire. If they fill out the questionnaire, they get the scheduler template. 24 hours after the scheduler, they get a follow-up email with some terms if they sign the contract. So on and so forth, you can really kind of identify based on your process what you would like to send to the client as they proceed through your onboarding. Now, one of the really, really great ways to kind of take the load off of your plate as soon as possible, and quite literally without you having to do anything extra after the client has inquired, is connecting those workflows to the lead capture page. Essentially, there are two ways that you can automate from the jump, and one of them is using what we call a default workflow. So if you have more of a linear process where regardless of the inquiry type, you would just like to take them down this one route, you can create that singular onboarding workflow. And essentially, as soon as the client submits the form and you receive their inquiry, apart from just being put into the software, it automatically adds all their all these details for you, and the workflow begins. So essentially, they hit submit, they're in the system, and they automatically get your welcome email, and then they can kind of move forward in that process. Now, one of the really sweet perks as well is we have a workflow element, as we call it. So this is actually for those who wish to be a little bit more pointed in how they respond to each inquiry type. So on the client end, this is actually sort of like a very similar, simple drop-down question. What service are you interested in? What type of event are you looking to have, or what is the nature of your inquiry? So based on the options that you are providing for the client, on the back end, you can identify what workflow corresponds. So if I have corporate event, birthday party, wedding, if I have separate workflows for each inquiry type, that would mean that when I fill out the form and hit submit, based on the option that I choose, that will dictate the emails and forms that are sent to me. And very understandably, like if I were to ask about a corporate event, the documentation, the copy on your emails, those might vary quite greatly from a couple that is looking to get married. So you can really double down on customizing the experience, but also having it automated. The last thing that I really just wanted to mention, because I know we're up on time, is our customer support. If this is something that you're really quite adamant about giving a shot, is really important to us. So we have a bit of a free trial where you can hop on, create a free account, and it's not time restricted. So you can take all the time you need to kind of dig through the weeds and just understand how you want to use Dubsado. And we have, chat support. We have free one-on-one screen shares. We can create forms for you, things like that. And we are working on an affiliate code with May for her program and her community. But yeah, I just wanted to say really quickly, thank you so much for this. And I hope you took some kind of benefit from it, no matter where you're at in your business. If you're completely new, you just filed your LLC, or if you're 10 years in the game, everyone can use Dubsado, and it really does just depend on what you feel is most needed, and our team will help you get there. So thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
You're welcome. You forgot to mention that you also integrate into third-party apps such as QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And also the emails app that you are able to integrate as well.
Yeah. I apologize. We're running fast on time, but as May mentioned, we do have a few integrations. Basically, we have like a basic Zapier integration where, if you, just like she mentioned, actually, if she's using something like an ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit, for example, if you have that newsletter bulk email software, you can use Zapier to connect that to Dubsado. And basically what happens there is, as you receive inquiries on the Dubsado form, apart from being put into the system, that contact info will actually be added to your newsletter lists automatically in, let's say, like MailChimp or ConvertKit. So you don't actively have to export those contacts to make sure they're part of your marketing emails. And in a more direct capacity, we do integrate with QuickBooks Online for further bookkeeping, as well as Xero. So basically, the invoices you generate within Dubsado will automatically end up in your QBO or your Xero account, in case you wanted to monitor that a bit deeply.
Yeah, that's actually a very a big plus. All right, I know, Joey, I know that you have to leave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for staying beyond time. So I'm going to take you off stage and then do a quick summary with my members. All right, thank you so much,
Awesome.
Joey.
Thank you, May. It's always been a pleasure, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
So now that is Dubsado is a very, very powerful client management software program. And there are several out there, like Honeybook, Outplanner, Dubsado, that are, countless, right? Like Airtable is also another one. There's quite a few, but it all depends on what works for you, right? Different strokes for different folks. My suggestion for you is to always try out to see what works for you. Play around with the platform to see whether it speaks to you. Some of you will prefer to use other platform. Some of you prefer this platform, right? So it's never a one size fits all. And as what Joey has mentioned, we are working together to put together an affiliate link where members who sign up with our link will be able to get a percentage of a discount for their subscription and some other bonus. So we're working feverishly on that. So once that is in, then please send, I will post it on my social media, right, in the Facebook group, on Instagram, and also on my Facebook page. And if this is something that you would like to do, let your concierge know. Everyone in our Facebook group has an assigned concierge, Christine or Stephanie. Let them know, and I'll be able to send over that link to you as well. Now, next week, we also, come back again, 12 p.m. Eastern Time Zone for our weekly tutorial. Now, somebody was asking me about our merchandise for Unstoppable Entrepreneur. I think it has been delayed for the past 6 weeks. Just a sneak preview. We have our mark, okay? As you can see, Unstoppable Entrepreneur. That is right here. So you can see Unstoppable Entrepreneur. So this is ready, and we are feverishly as well building our merchandise store so that I have a lot more samples coming in. So you will be seeing me wearing different things, drinking from different marks. So just a sneak preview. And then once that store is ready to go, I'll let everybody know so you can go check out and see what merchandise you like, right? I always say that if you know that this is your declaration, you want to be an unstoppable entrepreneur, you have to constantly remind yourself. You got to wear your declaration. You got to constantly, every corner you go, you see your declaration. So I hope today's tutorial has been great. That Joey from Dubsado has given us our time, and this gives you more things to think about how you can work smarter, more efficiently, using a software that's able to help you clear some of your workload so you can actually focus your time on more important things like sales generating activities. So thank you so much, everyone. So have a great Wednesday, and I shall see all of you next Wednesday again at 12 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. Once again, if this is something that you like to do, Dubsado, right? Please connect, send me a DM on Instagram, right? Write me a comment on YouTube, and also connect with your concierge or put it in our Facebook group. Let us know this is something you want to do, and then we will send over the link to you. The link will be created very quickly. So we'll send over the link to you. Thank you so much, everybody. Aprons. Wow, another thing that I have to think about, aprons. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Bye.